What up, nerds? This guy asked me how to edit F-Log. Let me show you. Honestly, it's not that complicated. You just want to make sure that you nail your exposure and white balance. This morning I went out with a friend and we shot some footage in F-Log, 120 frames per second, because why not? Also, oh, I have zebras. I thought my camera was doing something weird with the lights in the background, but I'm realizing it's zebras moving. If you don't know what zebras are, you should probably go back to elementary school. I'm just kidding. Zebras are when something's overexposed. Also, when we were filming, we saw a beaver, a baby beaver, or maybe it's an otter. I don't really know. Hey, look at it, we thought it was a beaver. It had a funny looking tail. Beavers have funny tails. But let's talk about this color. Before we start, hop into Google and type in F-Log to Eterna, or you can click the link down in the description. We're gonna download the official F-Log LUTs from Fujifilm. Now that you got those downloaded, open up your editing program. I prefer Premiere, unfortunately. I'm sure you guys saw my tweet. I had a rough day. It was a rough day. But we're gonna open up Premiere and get editing. But before that, I actually gotta transfer the footage off of this camera because I didn't do that yet. I'm a professional. All right, BRB. Another thing, this is not a comprehensive tutorial on F-Log. This is just some simple things that I learned and kind of how I deal with F-Log. All right, so here we have a project with a bunch of F-Log footage ready to go. Let's pick a shot and start grading. All right, make sure you got your Lumetri scopes and your Lumetri color ready to go. Very first thing that I'm always gonna do is go to my input LUT, and we're gonna go to those Fujifilm LUTs we downloaded. So go to that folder, wherever you saved it. I'm gonna click on XT4 because that's the camera that I have. And then I use this first one, F-Log F-Gamut to Eterna BT709. That's the one you wanna use. Also, as an alternative, if you do not want Eterna, you can use the F-Log to BT709. It'll also give you a very nice clean image. But in my case, I actually enjoy the Eterna look, so we're gonna go with that one. Kind of two different factors you wanna focus on here. The first one being exposure, and then the second one being color. So let's start with exposure. This part isn't really F-Log specific, it's just color correction. I'm just gonna bring the blacks down a little bit. His shirt is not actually a black, so we wanna make sure that on our Lumetri scopes here that information is not touching 0, because that would mean that it is no information. And then I'll lower the shadows just a little bit and then play around with my whites and highlights. It doesn't look like the sky was blown out at all. I'm gonna bring that up to about 90 on the IRE scale. And then my highlights here, a little bit more preference, I'll boost it up a little bit. Personally, I think that looks pretty good. I am, however, going to bring up the saturation just a little bit, just about 5%. Bring that to 105. Now in this case, because we chose the Eterna LUT, I'm not gonna add a creative LUT. But let's say we went with the other look, which was just straight to Rec 709 or BT709. That's the wrong one, I'm a dummy. I think that actually looks quite a bit more natural in the skin tones. But let's throw in a look. I think that this is also a pretty good look. Still using Maddie's LUTs, by the way. And just like that, I think we have a pretty good F-Log look. All right, let's do another one real quick, just because I really like this shot. This was a case where my exposure was just bang on, and the moment you add a LUT, it just looks good. Like, I don't really have to do much to that. I'll probably still bring the blacks down just to add a little bit more contrast, a little shadow, raise the highlights a little bit. And again, I'm not being too technical at all. I think a lot of this is preference. But when it comes to color grading, less is always more. You never want to be heavy-handed. And just like that, I think we have a pretty good look. And usually when I'm editing, I'll just copy my Lumetri and start pasting it everywhere, and then modifying. Actually, in this shot here, it looks like my exposure was a little too hot, but one thing I have learned with Fujifilm cameras is you're better off being a little bit overexposed than underexposed. Actually, let me show you an example of the other day where I was underexposed, and it really bit me in the butt. This was a quick little shoot I did for a friend the other day, and we were quickly losing daylight. And if we take a look at the trees over here, it is noisy mush, barely usable. Thankfully for this edit, I don't think it really mattered too much, but just keep that in mind. A little bit overexposed can be okay, where a little bit underexposed is gonna hurt. Honestly, I wish there were more like tips and tricks to this, but honestly, it's as easy as throwing on the conversion LUT, which is like officially supported by Fujifilm, which I really appreciate. Not every camera company does that. And then just honestly being really confident in your ability to expose your shot. That will make the world of a difference with F-Log. Thank you for watching. This has been a quick little tutorial on how to deal with your silly F-Log. Now, to be honest, now that I am very comfortable with my Fujifilm X-T4, I'm really enjoying the images that I'm able to get out of this camera. It might not be the camera for you, but for me, I'm happy. I will see you next time. And by next time, probably next week.